Mullins is an attorney in Charleston and a former chair of the Charleston County Democratic Party. In the center is South Carolina Representative Harry Ott, who is the Democratic leader in the South Carolina House. And the person on this end is State Senator Vincent Sheheen. Harry is from Calhoun County and Vincent is from Kershaw County. Why should the next governor be a Democrat and not a Republican?
Well, first off, I guess the new guy always gets the first question, so I figured that was coming. Look, I feel very strongly that we're at a point now in South Carolina where we're going to have to bring new people into the process, and we're going to have to change the dialogue for the people who are in the process. I think for a long time our statewide candidates have had a tendency to run to the right, okay, in the hopes that they'll jump the fence and come with us. And I think that strategy on election day is inherently flawed. Some people may disagree with that, but I think that if you're going to rely on a Republican, once he pulls the curtain, your reliance is misplaced. So I think instead of trying to get them to come with us, I think we've got to target the 6 or 8% of voters and change the dialogue and ask them tough questions. Why have you been voting Republican? And what do you have to show for it? Just like what Carol said, 20 out of 24 years we've had a Republican governor. They've had the keys to the car for a long time, and we don't have a lot to show for it. Very strongly that there are a lot of registered voters who believe in progressive values just like we do, but they stay home. The question is why? I think they stay home because they don't see a candidate who's willing to work as hard as humanly possible and to take the fight to the other side. My campaign is going to do that. From a pure practical standpoint, put all of our ideas aside, the next governor will deal with redistricting. And if it's a Republican governor, you can guarantee that our state and federal district lines will be skewed, and we will become a minority party.
Well, I'm going to just stay seated, but before I answer the question, I've got to clear up one thing. Roddy, you still work for the state newspaper?
I did when I left, yeah.
I want you to know you may be subject to come testify for divorce proceedings because my wife got me right after she read the state newspaper, and she read that I was an announced candidate for governor. And I have a firm commitment that my wife is always going to be the first one to know when I make a major decision, and she wanted to know when I made that without her being consulted. A little more cautious as we go along, and I want to make sure that when I jump, I'm jumping into a race that I can win, and I'm prepared to give it every bit of my energy and desire, because it is important that we elect a governor, a Democratic governor, to the state of South Carolina. So when I make that decision to make the commitment to run, it won't be here, it's going to be after I talk with my wife and my family and my preacher, and then we'll make that decision at the appropriate time of my choosing. Because we've got to put government back to work for the people. I want to take you back 6.5 years when Mark Sanford ran against Jim Hodges. Unemployment in South Carolina was about 8%. And if you remember that campaign, I remember it well because I was running for the State House at the time. He was saying that 8% unemployment was just totally unacceptable, and that we needed new leadership in this state to put our people back to work. Fast forward after 6.5 years of Mark Sanford, and we are now currently 11.4% unemployment, floating between second and third worst in the country. Is to provide an environment that if you are a willing worker, you can go get a competent job, do a day's work, get a decent day's pay, and take care of your family. I'm not standing here saying if I'm elected governor, we're going to fix all the problems through government. But government can create an environment where the business community can be prosperous and successful. And as the business community in this state is successful, they will create quality jobs, high-paying jobs, so that when people get up every morning and go to work, when they get their paycheck on Friday afternoon, they can make their house payment, they can make a car payment, they can send their kids to college, and still have a little bit left over for a little bit of retirement. That's why I want to be governor at some point in time.
Sanford will work.
Yes, I will.
Republican, not a Republican governor.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you all for all being here, for allowing me to be here. It's pretty simple, really. South Carolina needs to change. We all know that. And the important thing for this election is South Carolina knows that. That's what's important. You don't change the status quo by maintaining the status quo. You don't change South Carolina by keeping the same people in charge. You don't change this state by maintaining the vision or lack of vision that we currently have. You only change South Carolina by changing its leadership. And you're only going to change South Carolina's leadership if you elect a Democratic governor, pure and simple. Nothing else is going to change this state in the near future. There's three things that we have to think about. I like to say, because I believe this in my heart, that this has to be a transformative election for a Democrat to win. In other words, South Carolina has to see this as a transformative event in the history of our state. I believe it is. It's why I'm running for governor.